Here at Spa-Francorchamps, it's CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa weekend, and that means not only is it wet, but it also means that a huge entry of GT4 cars are here for GT4 European Series, powered by RAFA Racing Club. It's the third stop on our European tour. We've been to Paul Ricard, we've been to Zandvoort, and now it's time to get out the suntan lotion and to bask in the glorious weather here in the Ardennes. Almost. Wednesday was really hot and sunny, yesterday was mixed, and today it's been like this pretty much all morning. And through the spray, the cars come onto the circuit for the first of our two qualifying sessions. You can see the teams are having to think about not only which tyres to use, but which wet weather clothing they need to be wearing as well. It's been a great season so far, with a variety of different winning cars. We've had Ford Mustang winning twice, Eric Evans and Marco Signoretti at Paul Ricard, and at Zandvoort, Benjamin Lariche, Robert Consonny winning as well in race 2 at both venues. We've had great success in Pro-Am for Henrik Still and Joachim Bolting, with 3 wins to the one of Vinny Ventremeli and Nico Ferreira. In Am, Julien Leandri and Anthony de Barn, 3 wins, 1 to Max Kronberg and Daniel Brickler. In terms of pole positions, Greg Gilbert and Paul Petit have had great success across the first 3 qualifying sessions. They share an Audi, so 2 poles to Gilbert, 1 to Petit, and Robert Consonny has also taken a pole position. That means that in silver, and equally outright, every pole this year has gone the way of an Audi R8. We'll see whether the trend continues here. Great variety on track as you look there at Aston Martin, and here you look at BMW trying to generate a little bit of warmth into the tyres. Number 20 is the Lucas Cartel, Lucas Sugliano entry, and it's Lucas Cartel at the wheel right now. David Addison and Joe Osborne sheltering from the rain trackside. It's a challenging enough circuit, Joe, never mind having a short, sharp qualifying session of 20 minutes and in these conditions.
Yeah, and they haven't had much wet running before this qualifying session, so this will be eye-opening to some of the drivers and teams setups. Some drivers would have never driven around here in the rain, and Spa in the dry is one thing, but in the wet, suddenly it becomes a whole heap harder. Just that lack of grip and even trust underneath what you've got car-wise is difficult, as we see car number 20 flying into the source hairpin, the BMW there of Chazelle Technology course, and they've got the best view out there, of course, because no spray from anyone in front, so they will be able to use that to their advantage as Cartel flies through Eau Rouge. Track limits looking good at the moment. That is going to be a hot spot, and we'll keep you updated for any cars that fall victim to track limits. Of course, in qualifying, that track limit means you lose the lap instantly. There is no reprieve whatsoever.
Indeed so. Yesterday, and I say it was mixed weather, Josh Rattigan's number 78 McLaren was the fastest in the pre-qualifying session at 2 minutes 29.471. And in these conditions, anticipate times to be a fair bit slower. You're looking at the BMW, which might well be ideally suited to these conditions, a sort of touring car style, and they normally have enough grunt to do good lap times around here. They've been winning cars in the past. Will Orton, you were looking at there in number 74, the racing spirit of Le Mans Aston Martin. So 1 driver, 1 session. There is a little bit of a saga relating to the number 81 McLaren that crashed yesterday, and the team in question being RAFA Racing by Racelab had to go and source a spare car off Elite Motorsport and also do a driver change as well. Zach Meakin brought into the car. Wherever that qualifies, part of the penalty for a new chassis and a new driver is a 20-place grid drop for each race. So straight away they're on the back foot. Yeah,
that's brutal, and hard for Meakin as well, jumping in mid-weekend, as we see Safronov there running wide. Can actually be a bit of a line round there through Brussels, because the outer part of the track used less, affords more grip to the drivers, so might see some drivers doing some pretty funky lines in the pursuit of some grip.
We'll start to get lap times at the end of this lap. Number 7 then in the hands of Stanislav Safronov, very quick driver within the Pro-Am category. They had a 2nd place, he and Alexander Weintraub, in the first of the Zandvoort races. Definitely drivers to watch, as a number of the GT4 teams benefiting from a little bit of experience from last week. There was a French GT Championship race, and 1 or 2 of the regular European Series teams are French Championship drivers anyway. Others took the opportunity for a little bit of sneaky testing. Big wobble from the Lotus there. Stefano D'Aste at the wheel of it, coming out of Blanchimont. He managed to save the slide, but that was quite a moment.
Yeah, that's the best wake-up call you can get, better than any double espresso, and he's hustling hard because he was on 2 purple sectors. You can see on the timing graphic there, but getting held up massively by the BMW in front, but decides the best way to get clear track is to overtake that BMW rather than back off, flashing the headlights of that Lotus, trying to get past, but his next lap already compromised, and that is the problem. You get a replay of it and just touching the curb. He was too busy flashing his headlights to worry about his position in the car, and that snap definitely caught him. It was a big right hand to left hand moment there.
Having said all of that, it was the fastest time so far, at least 2:46. So that car currently ahead by 1.3 seconds, but anticipate that margin to close. He's now found himself a little bit stuck in the traffic, hasn't he? Because he's got 317, the AM class BMW of Anthony de Barn just up the road ahead. That's another car that is well worth keeping an eye to. And Anthony de Barn this year is 3 times a winner with Julien Leandre within the AM class. That's Benjamin Lariche at the wheel of number 3. This has got to be a car capable of taking pole position, capable of winning the race as well. We know how good both he and Robert Conseny are. Yeah, the Audi's been very strong, hasn't it? And it's been the dominant team as well, speed car. And it is a purple sector 1 for the number 8 Audi there of Gilvet, diving downhill into Brussels, going in very deep, trying to make a V shape out of this corner, so you're making 2 apexes of it. And what that is straightening up your entry under braking, and it's straightening up your exit under throttle. So you're trying to take out any of the steering angle where possible in these conditions to allow the tyre to do what it wants to do, and is accelerate and brake in straight lines. The rain isn't that heavy, having been outside only a few minutes ago, but there's just a lot of it hanging in the air, and the spray is hanging between the trees as well, so it has a really grey feel to it, but it's not torrential. Yeah, there is spray hanging in the air, but the road is far from flooded. It is a wet track, undoubtedly, as you look there at Greg Gilbert making his way. And finding the speed car Audi recovering at the piff-paff ahead of him. That was Benjamin Lariche having a rare error. Yeah, and is he going to hold up his teammate? It looks like he is at the moment, down to the inside, Gilbert, and Lariche does let him go, but that was compromised, and now he's got the advantage track position wise from that mistake, so that'll be a double negative for the sister car to Gilbert there. So both speed car Audis accelerate now out of the Cours Paul Frere. Quick word of thanks to all of our camera crews who are already having to get wet and soggy, and the weekend's only just started for them, really. They've got long, long days ahead. So, ladies and gentlemen of the camera crew force, your efforts are greatly appreciated. They say in their shirt sleeves indoors just to rub it in. Down to the chicane then comes Greg Gilbert. Stefano Dasne still the fastest, although this lap has been considerably slower in the sectors than the previous one. Gilbert, absolute best sector 1, down in sector 2. He's going to break the beam, and as he does so, there goes through, and the net result is that he's only 5th, in fairness. So is this because the road is getting wetter now and times are going to be harder to come by, I wonder? Yeah, we must be on the cusp of getting some aquaplaning now. Too much standing water in places. Eau Rouge at the bottom of the hill is the obvious place that starts to go. But interestingly, so's the Kemmel Straight. It hasn't got that much of a crown in the road. So although it's on a hill all the way up to Lacombe, it just tends to hold water all the way down that straight. So we're going to have to keep an eye out there. A new Pirelli wet across all championships, GT2, 3 and 4. Much, much quicker over a lap, but the driver's just saying it doesn't clear the water quite as well in the standing conditions. So that could be something we need to factor in. This is Charlie Hart, second fastest in the number 812 RAFA Racing by Racelab McLaren, and this is on a good lap, isn't it? A personal best first sector, but an absolute best in the second. And not only that, ka-ching, he's managed to buy himself pretty much a clear road, so he's not struggling too much with the spray. There is one car coming out of Blanchimont just up the road, but for Charlie Hart, I think he's going to be okay to get to the timing line here, unaffected. Yeah, it's hard to spot him. He's got a BMW in front. I think it's the 60 car in front of him, but he is going to be clean. This is going to be a really good run, looking tidy through the bus stop, trying to open up the steering now, stay off the exit curb. It just induces a lot of wheel spin, then you lose momentum to the line. He pushes to the line now, 42.2, goes pole position by 3.5 tenths as the timing screen updates. Yeah, good effort there, Charlie Hart up to the top of the times. You can see how much water there is, and it gets sloshed out from the Willy Motorsport car of Sergiu Nicolai, the Romanian driver. That was a car that was in the wars at the start of the weekend, but the Willy Motorsport car put back together. It's spectacular paint job on the back, where somebody's taken a brush and a load of paint and just gone splat. Yeah, it's been stuck in the middle of a paintball fight, hasn't it? That's right. Just left there and see what sticks. And see the Porsche blasting out with the elite McLaren behind it, followed by another
Porsche as well. That's our Indian actor, isn't it, with a huge crowd following. Everywhere we go around Europe, he drums up a huge amount of support.
Ajit Kumar, who prefers to race solo, so dispensation is made for him to race on his own, and it's great to have him in the championship. And as Joe rightly says, everywhere we've gone with the championship, there's been an enormous fan club of people here to see how he gets on. That car makes the run now up the fast straight, heading towards Les Camps. This is the view on board with the Tamil actor. Over 61 films he has made. He's done quite a bit of racing back home, but he did come and drive for a time in Europe in Formula 2 single-seaters, the MSV version, many years ago.
A good amateur driver. You can just see he's trying to feel the grip through the steering wheel. Lots of little wobbles on the wheel, and what that tends to do is actually break traction on the front axle. So ideally you turn in, you hold one constant steering radius, and then you get on the throttle. But in these conditions around Spa, it just seems like he's trying to feel the grip before it happens, and that can naturally unsettle the car. Just adds a rocking motion into it. You can hear the Porsche screaming down the hill here at Tapur, the wipers going flat out as fast as they can. Huge snap of oversteer. I wonder if we just had a wheel on the white line. The rear of the car breaking free as that Aston Martin, the 39 car, gets away with that at the top of Eau Rouge. He will be very thankful for the extra runoff put in there the last few years.
Will he ever? Big scare for Baudouin Detou, who gets it going again, and thankfully the heart rate gets back to normal pretty rapidly. So that was quite a moment. We'll have another look in a second at that, because as he came down towards Eau Rouge, the car losing traction. He was on his own. It has a wobble mid-corner, doesn't it?
Yeah, that is where the standing water starts. You sometimes see that happen because of a curb usage, but that was clean on the tarmac, and as he loaded the car up, turned right, there's been a miscalculation of grip underneath him, and it's just spat the car around rather alarmingly quickly.
So the racing spirit of Le Mans, or Lake Geneva if you prefer, carries on. Right, the ever spectacularly coloured number 32. This is Hendrik Still and Joachim Bolting, who's become quite a character this year as Joachim Bolting, with the Life's a Circus colour scheme. Now, Hendrik Still, very successful in GT4 over the years, whether it's in Pro-Am, whether it's been in Silver. He's been an outright race winner. He's been a pole position winner. Very much a class act, and has really brought on in a short space of time Joachim Bolting this year. Hendrik Still is a silver grader. Joachim Bolting is the bronze. Hendrik Still trying to master these conditions. Now, that car is second fastest at the moment, and it's only 59 thousandths down on Charlie Hart's McLaren. So this is a pro in a Pro-Am car, if you like, taking on the silvers. Down towards the chicane comes Hendrik Still. He's got the Gabriele Yilkova Toyota Supra behind him, but with conditions pretty nasty, you would have to say. Hendrik Still goes over the line, and not an improvement. That was a slow lap. Other drivers look on, getting ready for their stint, and they're also finding themselves on TV.
Yeah, they'll be watching, trying to work out where to place the car when they get out there. They'll be learning what the cars are finding on our pictures here. There's a smattering of green sectors, but not many, is there? Factory G-Tree here. Double duty in GT3 as well. They were pole position in class in the Pro-Am class last night in GT3 qualifying, so they'll be looking to keep that trend going on. And it's both drivers in that car on double duty as well. His teammate Fabien Dufay as well in the same car. So that's a nice wholesome piece of content, isn't it? They're sharing two cars together because they love each other that much.
We've got 4 drivers in GT4 doing the 24 Hours of Spa this weekend. Joe's talked about 2 of them. Gabriele Piana is another, and Pedro Ibrahim is the 4th. So splitting their time across different cars. Drivers limbering up then, and the session has 5 minutes to go. I'm trying to find some wood to touch here. As I say, it's been... All right, I won't.
Yeah, I can't believe there hasn't been a red flag yet.
Shut up. Charlie Hart's pole might be under attack here, because Hendrik Still has now done an absolute best in the first sector. Heading into the chicane here is still 27 of Mathieu Dietrich, who has been a winner in the French Championship and comes out of the chicane now, heading up towards the timing line. So that car 4th in the order might be an improver. Let's see as the headlights come over the line. No, lost down in the last sector as well, so stays 4th. 22 is the Hugo Mojica Ginetta, number 51. That car relatively speaking, is quite a long way down at the minute, isn't it? It's 23rd fastest, but Hugo Mojica might be an improver. Mike Simpson guesting for the weekend, the Ginetta Motorsport director. He's on a quick lap. Henrik still down in the middle sector. Mike Simpson just gone 5th in his Ginetta, then number 10 that he shares with Ethan Gialdini. Do you know what? I'm very glad I'm not outdoors at the minute.
Visibility's got awful, hasn't it?
Yeah.
The humidity's so high as well. It's not particularly windy either, so the rain that's getting thrown down on the track and then thrown back up by these cars just seems to be hanging in the air. Hendrick's still after a mega Sector 1, fastest of all, lost time in Sector 2. Can't see any traffic around him to blame, so is it just track conditions or the tyre going off? He was deep into the corner there, just doing a bit of a Hail Mary, trying to get everything he can as he pushes to the line. Can he do anything to get the fastest lap? He can. Mega Sector 3 as well, so Sector 1 and 3 fastest of any on P1.
And by 800ths or 81 thousandths of a second, if you prefer. Now, what about Benjamin Lariche then? Because this is the car leading silver in the championship, number 3 Audi, sloshing the water aside as Benjamin Lariche then comes now out of the chicane. Great shot that of how much water there is coming out from under the wheel arches as the Pirelli wets kick in to bite the traction. Over the line, 11th at the start of the lap was Lariche, and 9th by the end of the lap is Benjamin Lariche.
And the Audi not maybe as happy in these wet conditions as the dry conditions. Seen it being strong. Sector 2 is yellow. Looks like the 27 car actually is off on the exit of Pouhon, so drivers will have to slow down in that sector. They won't be able to improve, so that might hurt to hurt with less than 3 minutes remaining.
Yeah, because that's about a lap time, isn't it? Oh, there's the car in question in the background. Look, a long way through the gravel up towards the tyre stack.
Detry, isn't it? We were talking about him on double duty, and we spoke about 4 drivers doing it. Piana being the other one, had quite a large shunt in the GT3 category. So half of the 4 drivers doing both races have had off. So maybe showing the hard element of swapping between very different machinery.
A dirty Detry because he's gone through the gravel. So Mathieu Detry getting out of the car. Now the session's got 2 minutes to go, less than a lap time now. So if things do need to be done, then I fear that there wouldn't be a resumption of the session. However, Joel Dovar, who is the race director for GT4 European Series, will be looking at all of this and assessing what has to be done. The car has gone quite a long way off through the gravel. Interesting to know how it got there. Red flag is now shown with under 2 minutes to go, and that you can't do a lap time in 2 minutes, so either the session gets extended or that's your lot.
Yeah, I think we're going to call that with the tight timetable as well we've got here. But
just to say also, sorry, Josh Rattican went to the top right at the very end. There he is, number 78. So we had got Henrik still at the top, but did he lose his lap time? He must have done for track limits. Yes, 32. Henrik still had the lap taken off him, so that put Charlie Hart back ahead. But then Josh Rattican there in the Elite Motorsport McLaren that's had a tough season, reigning silver champion. He did a 2:42.190 just before the red flag. That was good timing.
Yeah, really good timing, a good result for McLaren there, first and second. I also think the Lotus will be happy in 4th place. Mike Simpson in 7th as well. So just trying to look at some of the names that haven't been up there as much. And interestingly, that 27 car that caused a red flag was in 6th position as well before they caused the red.
Session not resumed, as I was suspecting. So we are done, as there you can see the Ford Mustang drivers switching over. Eric Evans to give way to Marco Signoretti.
Hairpin afterwards? Yeah. Right there. Right.
Eric Evans just advising where there's a bit of grip, where you need to be careful.
Who on? Tight or wide? Who on? No, you can use the racing line. You can go tight? Yeah. You can go tight.
And talking about the racing line being used there down at Pouhon. So Mathieu Detry is okay, despite causing the red flag. Marco Signoretti jumps on board the Academy Motorsport Mustang that's been busy because it took part in the 2 Le Mans support races. And Hendrik's still there, driving back towards us. 3rd is still pole position in Pro-Am, but it's not pole position outright. Now, in the system, we reckon we can work out where the track limit offence came. It's being shown as turn 17, so that is coming through Blanchimont. Try and have a look at that in a moment, as the clown on the side of the car is still smiling despite having had that lap time taken away. Joe, let's have a look.
Yeah, and it was the corner he picked up, and it is slightly off, isn't it? He slid all the way up to it, and as soon as all four wheels cross the white line, that is track limit. Many cameras as well operating there.
It seems harsh, though, doesn't it, in the wet? You know, drivers are pressing on. He didn't do that deliberately. The car got away from him slightly, and it just drifted out wide. But if you're off, you're off.
Do you know how he could have avoided that? Gone slower.
Thank you very much.
Why are you giving the drivers excuses? I don't like this role reversal. Go back to being horrible.
I do bow to your experience of being slow, though, so thank you for that. Thank you for clarifying. Matthew Dietrich's car, damage assessment. We were spot off yesterday with our damage assessment. What do we think? Not too bad?
Yeah, it's gone in very sideways, isn't it? It doesn't look like it's rotating the gravel trap. It's kind of just slapped into the side. I just wonder any suspension damage there will be the main issue in getting that car ready. Drivers again just talking about what they can learn from each other. It was interesting, the two Mustang drivers go wide. Yeah. And, like, they couldn't believe that was the option there at the hairpin they were talking about. And yeah, that just saves a huge amount of learning when you can pass on that knowledge instantly.
And both Eric Evans and Marco Signoretti, that were those Mustang drivers talking, have raced here quite a lot, so they do have experience. There is Matthew Dietrich's gravel bed special being rather unceremoniously yanked out. But yesterday and today, great work by marshals and track staff alike here to get cars sorted out as quickly as possible. That should be okay to drive back. Meanwhile, this is how you limber up to drive a BMW.
Bad pack just watching that. And,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a fair amount of bodywork damage on that Dietrich car. I wonder if the team will be able to just whack on some tank tape to get it ready for Q2 to at least get some laps for Fabien Defay, as we can see the recovery truck coming, so maybe it's going on the flatbed.
Yeah, now was that a breakage because it hit the tyres, or a breakage that put it off? Because as you say, it was a strange angle, but clearly it can't be driven back. Matthew Dietrich gets out of the car, so it's going to take a little bit more time. Joachim Bolting then is installed into his Porsche 718 Cayman. Hendrik still passes on advice. There are still cars making their way back to the pit lane. So as we get ready for Q2 in about 9 minutes' time, Josh Rattigan can celebrate a pole position then, having been fastest in pre-qualifying yesterday. That was a 2:29 today in the wet, a 2:41.190. 86 thousandths up on Charlie Hart, with Hendrik still third. Stefano D'Aste's Lotus, a really good fourth ahead of Greg Gilbert. Matthew Dietrich sixth in the times, but I fear may lose that given that he's the cause of the red flag. Seventh, Mike Simpson from Emil Schwarach, then Becker, Beschler and Johan de Back. 11th, Benjamin Lariche, quite a long way down ahead of Nathan Van Springel, Victor Bouveng, Lucas Cartel and Sergio Nicolai. Best of the silvers, Josh Rattigan. Best of Pro-Am, Hendrik Still. And the fastest of the AM category is Julien Ripert, quite a long way down, 36th. But a good effort nonetheless, that, and a first pole position of the season for Julien Ripert. For Hendrik Still, it's a third class pole, and for Josh Rattigan, it is a first outright pole of the season. So it is a class pole position for Hendrik Still. Alex Legui is in the pit lane for us, and Hendrik Still is with her.
A little frustrating with track limits out there. However, you're in the top spot, where you want to be in the sharp end. What advice do you give when you hand over, having just experienced the track? It looks like very tricky conditions.
Yeah, I mean, it were very tricky conditions. I mean, we were looking all the time to the rain radar. And we expected in the beginning that the quickest laps come at the end of the session, so we were preparing all for this. But then it starts raining more, so you know it's here like in Spa, it's very difficult to calculate it perfect. But I mean, in the end, then we decided to stay out all the session to push maximum. It would be the pole position, but it was like, you know, just a little mistake with the track limit in Blanchimont. Yeah, so very close, but still it's P3 overall, pole position in Pro-Am, extra point for the championship, so we are happy.
When you're handing over to Joachim, what's your advice when he's about to get in?
I mean, I explained to him exactly how the balance of the car is, what he needs to focus for to get the maximum out of the car. I mean, especially how the things you need to adapt as a driver to get out the maximum out of the car and the performance we have now in these conditions. So, and these are the informations I gave to him, and I hope he will do also a mega job now.
Good, thank you.
Hendrik Still relay Joachim Bolting then. They've made a good combination over the course of the season. And there is the World is a Circus colour scheme on the Porsche. It's one of the most spectacular cars on the entry. Bit by bit, Joachim Bolting is starting to tell us a little bit more about the colour scheme, but we'll keep working on him. Fastest in silver, though, to that number 78 McLaren. As you can see on the hero card, this is your Pro-Am pole position winning car. The Porsche and Henrik Still did the time. So we are 4.5 minutes away from Q2 getting underway, and then we can move into Q2. Same cars, but the second driver, with the exception of Ajit Kumar, who of course does both qualifying sessions on account of what he is a soloist this weekend. So the highlights then of the first part of qualifying in the wet, with, in fairness, the rain not so much getting worse, but just hanging in the air. Big wobble early on for Stefano D'Aste, who even at the end of that lap was able to set the fastest time. The number 317 BMW of Anthony de Barn being monstered by that Lotus as they came through the chicane. The speed car Audis were at play as well. Benjamin Lariche ahead of Greg Gilbert, who lined up to make a move on the inside of Pif Path, gained track position, but had a tough session, wasn't able to get himself up the order particularly, and so the Audis that have looked so good all season, struggling here. Mathieu Dietrich was 4th, he fell to 6th, and then he fell off the road as well, down at Pouan. Baudouin Detuat had a big moment coming up through Eau Rouge as well. The Aston Martin having a lurid spin. Mercifully, he avoided anything solid and was able to hook first gear and rejoin. Henrik Still got himself to the top of the times. He lost the lap for track limit offences. That meant that although he kept the Pro-Am pole, it was 3rd overall. Charlie Hart was 2nd after a really good effort in the RAFA Racing Club McLaren, the Race Lab run car. Charlie Hart, ever an emerging star of GT4 European Series, as Josh Rattican, the reigning Silver Cup champion, took a maiden pole position of 2025, and then we had a red flag. The fast lane is open then for Q2. We've got about 3 minutes before the cars are released down to the end of the pit lane and onto the track. There you can see the queue building, because with so many cars, Joe, as ever, track position is important.
Yeah, hugely important. You can see the jostling already going on. Looks like 2 elite cars, doesn't it? But one of those is being run by the RAFA team, so that's a slight confusion.
Yeah, the elite McLarens and their spare car, which has morphed into a RAFA racing car 81. Ganelle Longy is also in the pits for us this weekend. She has found our pole position driver, Josh Rattican. Ganelle.
Josh, best lap time in that session, and pole sitter in the silver class as well. First pole for you guys this weekend since the start of the season.
Yeah, we've had a very, very tricky year so far this year. We've had obviously a few issues, but me and Mackenzie have fought through them all, and we're coming back stronger for Spa. Obviously, me and Tom last year, we got the double pole and the double win. So hoping to bring back redemption for this one, and we'll see what we can do.
A little update on the track conditions. Is the grip still okay?
A little bit scary. It's one of those where you'll either love it or you hate it around Spa in the wet. And to be honest, I didn't do any practice yesterday in the wet. So going into qualifying was a little bit sketch, but to be honest, again, it's our normal. You just sort of go out there, give it your best, and it paid off.
Congrats again. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, Josh Rattican, after a tough start to the season, will be quite happy with that. It proves that the McLaren isn't a spent force.
Yeah, and especially for the race this evening into the night, being at the front is going to be a huge advantage in this big 44-car field.
Track temperature 19.5 degrees, very humid today, and it's starting to look fractionally brighter. I think the rain has stopped, so fingers crossed it won't take too long for the water on the road to dissipate. Busy day, because although there's limited GT3 running at the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa, GT4 race begins at 9:10 this evening in the dark. After the warm-up for the 24 hours, we've got Lamborghinis and McLarens racing as well, and a green flag awaits at the end of the pit lane. The endurance pits, so the cars are at the foot of Eau Rouge. They climb up Radion, and that's where they blend onto the circuit. Number 317 then, Jean-Mathieu Leandri is good to go. Leandri has had a pole position within bronze, so he'll be a man to watch, that's for sure. The Valentino Rossi fans there awaiting a glimpse of their man later on, maybe, in the Super Pole or in the warm-up session. And spare a thought, as I said earlier, for our camera crew in all sorts of locations around Spa, and perched up high on top of the pit brasserie, overlooking the pit straight. that is probably the worst place to put anybody, because you get all the smells of the food and the beer wafting up to you, and you can't do anything about joining anybody down there because you're stuck on your camera position. So again, thanks to our camera crews who have got a long weekend ahead. Green flag, Q2 underway. GT4 European Series powered by RAFA Racing Club. Standalone session, standalone grid.
Yeah, so this is for the race 2 qualifying, obviously, so all of these drivers will be out there for the first time. The only exception to that is obviously Kumar, who is on double duty. I think that was Jorg Muller on the pit wall there, so a huge amount of experience for Jorg there, being over the drivers on the radio. And again, that BMW has the clearest part of the track as we go back on board with Kumar leaving the pit lane. And you can see he's just trying to get his wiper settings right as Joachim Bolting deciding to wait and trying to find the space as cars flood onto the track.
Yes, the 2 WS Motorsport cars, because not only is Joachim Bolting waiting his turn, but so also is Max Kronberg there, number 8, Paul Petit, who is the regular, if you like, in the second session. So it's quite often this way that Greg Gill there goes first. And Paul Petit is on his toes, isn't he? Making it 3 abreast, heading up towards Les Combes, trying to get through the traffic. We've not really touched on the NM Racing Team Mercedes yet. There are 2 of them this weekend. 15, there is the car of Alexandra Papadopoulos, taking over from Luke Ibanez. The other car, the sister car, Matt Higgins, son of rally driver, American rally champion David Higgins, and therefore nephew of Mark Higgins. He did Q1, and Pierre Livingstone, historic Formula Ford champion, having his first GT4 European Series outing, doing this session. Out on track then now goes the Team Floral Mustang of Michael Haverans, one of the rookie drivers, silver graded, another of the Ford Young Driver Development Program members, and blasting out on track now.
Sounds great, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That V8 and the gearbox, very aggressive as he shifted second to third. You can see it give him a snap of oversteer, so hopefully as the tyre temp comes up, this car will get a bit more drivable. Wipers on, flat out. Just feeling how much grip we got under braking, down to second gear for Lecombe, still on top of the curb on the apex. You tend to still use apex curbs because it's the unloaded side, it's the exit curbs you have to be careful of. Let's just listen into this lovely V8 engine for a second. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Eating through the gears on the dive down, even off throttle through Brussels on the overrun. It was sounding brilliant. So this almost be a distraction for the drivers driving that thing, going, well, this sounds amazing. Oh, I need to concentrate on driving fast now. But yeah, balance looks good. That's the main thing so far for that car. No major under or oversteer so far on his outlap.
Being fairly cautious, of course, in that section we were looking at many to go through Brussels down to Speaker's Corner. Meanwhile, more cars on track generates a bit more spray, doesn't it now? So it's looking a little bit more murky on that pit straight. We'll start to think about flying laps next time around when people come across the line. Josh Ratican's car then, that was fastest in Q1. The Elite Motorsport with entire race engineering entry now goes to Mackenzie Cresswell in his first season of GT4 racing, up from GB3. It's still showing Josh Ratican's name on the Lumi ranks. That will need changing as it goes through the traffic. Behind is Zach Meekin in the other yellow McLaren. Not an Elite Run car, it's Elite Spare, but it's been borrowed by the RAFA Racing Club by Race Lab squad because Julius Dinnerson crashed their car yesterday.
Yeah, a bit of an oddity of the timing that he's registered a lap time as well, because he's only on his first flyer now. So I think that is a timing issue. That's why he is P1 at the moment, because it's saying he's done a lap. But these are everyone's first flying laps now. So kicks up the gravel on the exit there, pushing on super hard and all the way to the limits of the track and more.
Yeah, that lap's now disappeared, so whatever the glitch was, it might be because the transponder is still showing the wrong driver and it's being unravelled. So Mackenzie Cresswell coming then out of Puan way up the curb. He's certainly pushing, isn't he?
Yeah, that was close to track limits as well, and race control are able to use the TV pictures for any evidence like that. So he will be getting warned by the team. 1, of be careful with track limits, and 2, you're on TV, so we need to be squeaky clean right now.
So Mackenzie Cresswell in the car that he knows is competitive, and he's aiming for something better than a 242.1, because that was pole in Q1, and now if the road is just starting to come back to the drivers by drying out a little bit, then he wants to be able to go faster than that. We're getting some good sector times profit, of course, early on, not just personal best, as it would be on a push lap, but absolute bests as well. First flying lap for the drivers, so it's always going to look impressive. And track limit dramas straight away in the system. Gabriele Piana has lost his first flying lap. Gabriele's having a tough weekend because yesterday in pre-qualifying he put the Winward Racing Mercedes GT3 into the barriers at Radion. Therefore the car couldn't take part in qualifying, and here comes Rattigan then up towards the line.
Yeah, Cresswell backed out in sector 3, so decided he was going to catch these cars in front of him, would rather give that lap up as a slow Audi there, trying to spot any problems with it. All the tyres and suspension look okay. We've still got electrical power as well, but what's the problem with that car?
Philippe Talamy at the wheel of it, unless he was being overly gentlemanly and getting out of everybody's way. So Mackenzie Cresswell onto a flying lap. Aston Miller, another McLaren driver, has done a 2:43.8 now to go to the top. 20 minutes for these qualifying sessions. They get a lot of free practice, pre-qualifying time, but then for qualifying, short, sharp, pressure on.
Yeah, exactly. And that lap from the 81 car was the elite liveried car. That's the RAFA car that was behind Cresswell. So that's why it was a good lap, because you can see how much he caught Cresswell, who was actually only 1.4 off, even with backing off.
Robert Constantini here, number 3 Audi, who came into circuit racing from rallying, so whether or not these conditions are going to favour the rally background, we will see as the car dances its way up through Eau Rouge and off the circuit and back on again. Gabriele Piana looking good in the sectors, but we need to see whether this lap counts, because Gabriele Piana, as I say, has had a lap taken off him for track limit offences. That warning came up at 11:50, a minute and a half ago, so I fear this lap ain't going to stand. I think the lap that he's completing now is the one with the track limit offence. It's good enough for him to go across the line now and post a decent time, but I don't think he's going to be able to rely on that. He's going to have to go again and be tidy.
Yeah, I think the Audi we watched for Eau Rouge was all 4 wheels over the white line, as well as Team Speed car. Look on, fairly unhappy, and that is that Audi we saw earlier going slow. It's going to be a yellow sector that's coming into Piff Path, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's out the way where it's safe enough to the race director will give him time to restart. My fear is that if he could have got it behind the barrier, he would have. But at the moment, that car 44 is going nowhere.
Yeah, Philippe Talamy trying to go through a process of rebooting the Audi, if you like. And as you were saying, the power is there because the lights are on. So we'll keep an eye on this. Of course, you shouldn't be improving times in that sector, but if the road is getting drier, then it's almost inevitable.
He moved forward a few feet.
Yeah, it's a mover.
Going again. Is he going to commit to go behind the barrier, or is he going to try and get back to pit lane? It's the latter one.
Yeah.
He's rolling the dice. He doesn't care about the other 43 cars. He wants to get the best result for himself possible with less than 12 minutes remaining.
And looks like there was some pace in the car. Mackenzie Cresswell, in the meantime, has found a whole load of traffic ahead of him coming into the chicane. So well done to Joel Doval, the race director, for giving Philippe Talamy the time rather than having to interrupt the session. The car was able to rejoin, and so the session goes back green. Up to the line there goes 81. Aston Miller through and improves again, a 2:43.590. Not as good, actually, as Josh Rattigan in a similar car in Q1. Benjamin Lessen's BMW is second, and Clement Zeiler in the Aston Martin, number 39, is now third.
Yeah, we're seeing it on the timing graphic. It's Meakin, but our time screen is saying it's Miller, and I think that's the driver ID issue of changing cars so last minute.
You're right.
That car is going to get the 20-place grid penalty no matter where it finishes in this qualifying as well. So, yeah, wherever they are, they've got to put plus 20 on that position.
Yeah, Zach Meakin here because he is driving in the McLaren Trophy races in a car that's actually a bit quicker than a GT4 spec car. It's kind of GT4 plus, but his experience of McLaren is invaluable. So moved across into McLaren Trophy, and number 78 now, Mackenzie Cresswell, goes to the top of the times, a 2:42.3, so only a couple of tenths shy of what was going on earlier on. Greg Gilbert looking at Paul Petit, who is third and improved last time on a 2:43.7. So at the moment, the best in Pro-Am is the Lotus once again. The car now in the hands of Alberto Nasca.
That was so close. The McLaren's so keen to get past, and the BMW taking his line. There were millimetres before there was going to be contact there. And yeah, that car's actually lost a mirror. It doesn't have a right-hand mirror. I wonder if that was missing at the start of the session, or it's disappeared somewhere on track.
Gabriele Piana up to second fastest now, number 12 BMW. This is still the quickest car, but the margin 7/10 of a second. Mackenzie Cresswell, 2:42.3, couple of tenths down then on what Josh Rattigan did earlier on in qualifying in GT4 for the race 1 grid. So there is number 78 McLaren. Half the session just under remains, 10 more minutes on the clock therefore. So you've got McLaren from BMW, from McLaren, from Audi, and then Ginetta. So good variety in that top 6, and a car off in the background with damage as well. That looked like possibly a Porsche. Let us see. It's the AV racing car, is it, of Matteo Nomblo that's in the gravel, and I don't think it's going to get out of there. So meanwhile, Paul Petit getting himself into traffic. You can see that the rear of the car, rear bodywork's flipped up in the spin, and it's well beached in the gravel, and a red flag is called.
Yeah, not dissimilar place to where the sister AV Porsche went off in Q1.
Why does the back come up?
Because the aerodynamics are obviously designed to go the other way, so as soon as it goes the other way, air gets underneath parts of cars which weren't designed to be blown that way. It's similar when you see NASCARs go off and their bodywork lifts up to stop them lifting off and flying up and flipping over. But yeah, I assume it's actually snapped the pins that keep that down, so they may be able to push it down, but the hydraulic strut, very powerful on that boot lid of the Porsche. It's going to be a super quick recovery, and I expect to go back to green because we still have 9 minutes remaining.
Indeed so. Shouldn't take too long to get the car out of the gravel. Cindy Goudet bringing there the white, yellow, purple Toyota Supra down the pit lane. Aston Miller looking on.
So it's going to be meeking in the car is my detective skills on that. We're getting a mixture, weren't we, of names on the timing screen. Some saying Miller, the timing on the TV being correct, saying it's meeking.
And Gabriele Piana now is fastest with number 78, Mackenzie Cresswell, having been done for a track limit offence. So there are so many that come through the system. Gabriele Piana lost one himself earlier on, but right now that BMW is fastest, and yeah, the lap time for Mackenzie Cresswell taken away, and 78 has tumbled down the order as already back and moving is Matteo Nomblo. They've put the rear bodywork down, and hopefully it's gone click, and now he can get back to the pit lane. And very sensibly, he's doing all of this running off the racetrack. So if any gravel's going to fall out, it falls out on that runoff area.
Going to get lunged by the pickup truck, isn't he? And fair play to that crew for recovering that car so quickly. He's still got 7 cars behind him on their in-lap under this red flag. He isn't doing 80 Ks. That's my worry now, is he needs to slow that down to not get a penalty for speeding under a red flag, ironically.
Which he caused, yes, indeed. So, 9 minutes, 15 seconds are on the clock, and we await confirmation from Joel Doval as to when he wants the cars at the end of the pit lane and when we can go back running.
Interestingly, it looks like Elite are running this second car, so it has been entered under RAFA, but it was Elite's spare car, but both cars parked together with Elite members around both. So Elite have maybe outsourced the whole running of that car.
So the marshal's still showing the red flag to all the cars that are still to come into the pit lane, including their number 12 BMW, which is the fastest so far in the session. Gabriele Piana, he's been the silver champion, he's won the German championship. He is not only a very, very accomplished driver, Gabriele Piana, but he knows the BMW M4 GT4 inside out.
Yeah, he's done so well in that car, and not surprising to see him at the top in tricky conditions. As we see the one Ford Mustang come into its pit box, all got to line up, then nose 45 out. The pit lane will be then fast lane open. Expect that in the next 2 to 3 minutes. They'll wait for all cars to get back. The last car at the moment, another Mustang, the 61 car, still at turn 10 per on entry.
So we're still waiting for the cars to come back. We can't restart until everybody is in. This is the frustration now. So good was that recovery operation that we're waiting not for a car to be retrieved, we're waiting for people to make their way back to the pit lane, including Max Kronberg, who is on his way. Max Kronberg, who took a pole position at Zandvoort in the most recent outing for GT4 European Series. Been a really competitive season across all 3 classes. And not only has the racing been really good, but year-on-year driving standards improve as well. Go back, what, 5 seasons or so? Quite often they were, how can I put this, rumbustious races with lots of interruptions and damage and safety cars and or full course yellows. But now we've still got big grids, but the racing is a lot cleaner and a lot better as a result.
Yeah, it made Bedlam look calm, didn't it, at times, the GT4 series. And yeah, they've done a good job. I wonder if the drivers would have rathered a short full course yellow there rather than the whole red flag procedure. Full course yellow in qualifying can be frustrating as a driver, because if you cross the start line at the start of a full course yellow lap, you know that lap is dead. But now you've got to go through the whole process of getting ready again, psyching yourself up, 9 minutes remaining. So by the time you've done an out lap, there's going to be less than sort of 7 minutes 40 seconds. So time for 4 flyers potentially if you're lucky at the front of the queue, but more likely to be 3 if you're in the mid pack further back.
Alberto Nasca in the Lotus getting ready to go. There is the Vili Motorsport Tudorace car, the Romanian team, 2 Romanian drivers. That queues at the end of the pit lane, ready to venture out. Now that BMW to be found 34th right now, and oh dear, not respecting race director instructions, that car. I suspect that is for going to the end of the pit lane before permission was granted.
That's the only thing it can be. It wants the clearest bit of track. It's going to get a huge advantage, but then a penalty, I think, will null and void that advantage.
Let us head to the pit lane for a moment, because Stefano D'Este did a good job to get a class pole in the Lotus in Q1, and Stefano D'Este is with Alex.
Stefano, you had a bit of a moment out there earlier. Talk us through from your perspective how that session went. Looked pretty tricky.
Yeah, very, very tricky, because yesterday probably the GT3 that drive during the night, they put a lot of rubber on the circuit. And comparing to last day on wet, the track was very, very tricky, super slippery. And in many points where 2 days ago we had a lot of grip, today there were not grip, and there was I took a very big risk in the exit of Blanchimont in 5th gear, started completely oversteering, but I was good to control it, and yes, but it was even a great fun. And I'm really very happy because we did an amazing job doing P3, absolutely. Yeah.
Good start. Grazie mille.
Stefano D'Este, a happy man. We're getting happier as well, because the fast lane is open, which means cars can queue, which means we're not far away from getting the session underway. This is the moment that Stefano D'Este had right at the very start of Q1. Tell you what, it's improved in terms of weather and track conditions since then. We've gone back to a green flag now, so the session is live. You're looking at Q1. It's Q2 that has restarted, and that shows you how wet it was earlier on in the day. That Lotus going really well, though.
Yeah, really well. And yeah, huge snap of oversteer while flashing the headlights, trying to get past that BMW. Just done a purple sector 1 by my memory as well, so he had been very quick. Interesting, he had a microphone on the top of his collar of his race. It would be interesting what that was filming for. And if I spoke Italian, I'd like to hear what he was saying as he had that moment on the exit of Blanchimont.
Alberto Nasca, who's his co-driver, who's in the car right now, is a very prolific YouTuber, isn't he? I wonder whether it's all to do with Alberto Nasca's YouTube channel. Here we go. Cars pouring back out on track, including there Joachim Bolting, including Max Kronberg, including Gabriele Piana, 1 and 2 others just biding their time before, for example, their number 7 of Alexander Weintraub goes out. They still haven't changed the driver ID, even though they're being told to. But the Yellow Perils, the McLarens, under the elite banner, heading down from Speaker's Corner towards Poole. There is Paul Petit, behind him Robert Consani, the speed car Audis, with 8 minutes on the clock, running as a pair here.
Yeah, cars pouring on the track, but the sky is no longer pouring. And yeah, you're totally right, a lot less spray all the way round the lap. So it's going to be who crosses the line last to start their last fly is going to get a huge advantage, because the circuit's going to be at its prime there. So the top teams and the top drivers will be jostling, working that backwards. So as they cross the line, they'll be looking at the lap times, 2-minute 43s, and then deducting that from the time remaining, trying to work out, is it worth trying to maybe lose 20-30 seconds to get the ultimate track time when there's 39 cars circulating at the moment? It's going to drive very, very quickly still.
Alberto Nasca in the Yellow Lotus then, heading towards us. He's got traffic ahead. Paolo Meloni's BMW just up the road. That's the dad and lad entry of Paolo and Davide Meloni. Lotus, Audi through Piff Paff, that right-left flick, and then down towards the college, through campus, and then accelerate to the Courbe Paul Frere and up towards the end of the lap. And in fact, Alberto Nasca content to let the traffic get past him here. He wants clear track space, of course, so let people go and see if you can pick up the clear bit of road. It's easier said than done, though, with so many cars out on track. This, Ajit Kumar's view, he's 35th right now.
Still quite tentative with the steering input. It's got a huge amount of traffic in front of him. Just looks like a ball of cars in front. Must be 9 cars in the 200 metres of space in front of him. The Mercedes jostling with position to get in front of the Porsche. They all open up the last corner to try and swing a good exit. But all of these cars massively compromised by traffic. But with 6 minutes remaining, they don't really have that much time to slow down to find space.
True enough, as Gabriele Piana remains at the top of the times. There is Ajit Kumar, 35th now, going out of La Source in the Porsche Cayman that comes out of the AV Racing stable. Romain Wozniak's team. So Ajit Kumar presses on downhill. And you've got to say that since we first saw him this season at Paul Ricard, he's got more and more confident and got faster and faster.
Yeah, he's approached it right, hasn't he? He's doing a huge amount of driving, huge amount of track time with a good team. Driver coaches all around him as well, helping him understand where he needs to improve. It's one thing seeing the data, but you need it read to you in a way you can understand and then put it into action. And that action seems to be working well for this Indian actor.
Down through the gears, a bit circumspect into Le Camp, but you can't blame him for that. He wants to make sure he's not in the gravel and not giving the team any work to do before racing this evening. And of course, racing in the dark, at 9:10 onwards, going to be a real challenge for all. Very wide there, very deep through Bruxelles goes Gabriele Piana, maybe looking for a bit more grip on the outside. He's got his teammate Pedro Ibrahim behind him. Both of these drivers will be in the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa this weekend. Not in the same team, but in different cars. Pedro Ibrahim stays as a BMW driver. Gabriele Piana defects to Mercedes AMG.
Yeah, so just looking at the time screen, Kumar's actually 3rd fastest in his class as well at the moment. So, yeah, backs up your statement there. What a lap from Kasani at the moment. Purple sector 1, second quicker than he's done in that sector. These two BMWs sort of in a sort of a ballet, a trance. They're racing against each other. Neither one wants to give up to find space. And at the moment, it does look like Ibrahim's probably the quicker one of the two. The second of these Boutsen automotive cars is definitely on the front foot.
Yeah, Gabriele Piana, fastest outright so far for the Turkish Borusan automotive team. But yeah, Robert Consony out in number 3, absolute best first sector. There are the BMWs as a pair. This big 8-wheel bright blue BMW M4 coming into Blanchimont. Robert Consony still to get to the end of that middle sector, but he's on his way. Does it now, personal best, so he's building the lap together nicely. And Consony 11th is going to be an improver, surely. Max Kronberg then has gone to the top of his class then. Max Kronberg currently is fastest within the AM Cup. So here, dropping back is Ibrahim to try and buy clear track space, which he does. He accelerates now up towards the timing line. And up to the top again goes Mackenzie Cresswell, a 2:41.599. But this could be the car that takes that away, because traffic allowing, Robert Consony on a mission, comes up to the line. Traffic ahead, so the next lap might be spoiled, but can he escape this one? Up towards the beam, Robert Consony goes through, up to 3rd, in fact, so the number 3 Audi, 3rd fastest. Big improvement.
Yeah, I think traffic in sector 3 hurt him there, and he's only got time for 2 more laps, so he'd probably be well advised to just make sure he finds some space on this lap and look to time it to cross the line. Look at the clock ticking away, so he could lose 25 seconds on this lap and then squeeze 1 more out, crossing the line as late as possible. That's what we think the ultimate strategy will be, is trying to cross the line late as possible so you've got the driest track underneath.
So Consony then up the hill, but he's had that lap taken off him. He's down to 15th again, so Robert Consony, no wonder it was quick, because he was off the road at one place and therefore exceeding track limits cops a penalty. So Mackenzie Cresswell here, fastest and all sideways, coming out of Pau. Good save, and not for the first time in the session have we seen him over the curb and getting really committed.
Yeah, he is super committed, isn't he? They're starting to look for the wetter parts of the track as well. They're worried they're going to start to overheat these wet tyres, so the driver's off the racing line, looking for the damper patches, normally just on the straights, because you don't want to do it in the corner. You don't want to compromise your corner speed, of course, but on the straights where you can just wander over and just try and fill these wets full of water and bring the temperature down will help you as you approach the next corner.
Out of the Cours Paul Frere come the two McLarens. 81, remember, Zach Meakin 4th, which means 24th, because part of the penalty for a new car and a new driver combination is this 20-place grid drop. Frustrating for Zach Meakin, because as again Cresswell is way up the curb at Blanchimont, Zach Meakin has done an absolute best within the first sector, so there should be an improved lap time for Meakin on this lap. Mackenzie Cresswell is going to be able to squeeze, like Meakin, ahead of him one more lap out of the session, but no more than that, because we are just about 1 minute and 20 seconds away from the checkered flag. Over the line goes Zach Meakin, and he's up to 2nd in the times. And Mackenzie Cresswell goes through and does a 2:41.7, fractionally slower. So Meakin improves to effectively 22nd, because 2nd in the times plus his 20-place grid drop.
Yeah, I just think Cresswell probably did track limits on the exit of Blanchimont T17, that lap we were watching him through there. As we see, Callum Davis currently 4th place. So we've got 3 McLarens in the top 4 at the moment. Very strong showing for them. Piana struggling to improve at the moment. Green sector 1, but then losing time in sector 2. So I don't think this lap's going to be an improvement for him. And we're still seeing purples, sector 1 for the Audi. But again, the middle sector not strong for that car. And again, it's just the traits of Spa and balanced performance that you get different strengths in different areas of this Spa track.
So Callum Davis, 4th quickest, which is 3rd on the grid. Don't forget, sideways into Le Camp, but a good save in number 812 McLaren. That's, if you like, the surviving, healthy RAFA Racing Club Race Lab entry after the dramas befell the other car. Ginetta racer, British GT racer last year is Callum Davis. Drops now down towards Bruxelles. Checkered flag, he's out. Session at an end. Callum Davis pressing on, but he's in danger of overstepping the mark here, either in terms of track limits or going off the road, because the lines have been all a little bit off through Bruxelles, down through Speaker's Corner there. So 2 corners in quick succession where he's been struggling a bit for the bite of the car and the traction.
Yeah, I think the tyre's probably gone off. They've either over-pressured now, it's warmed up, or they're over-temperature, and it's just making it much, much harder for that car to stay underneath. Davis looking strong, breaking offline there at the moment. It's been a strong lap so far, and nearly everyone on track is still getting a lap. Only 3 cars have taken the checkered flag, so everyone's going to push all the way to the end of this lap, I suspect.
But that McLaren, good as it has been in the times, and indeed good as it's been on this lap in Sector 1, still looks a handful, doesn't it? You know, it does not look an easy car to drive. Callum Davis having to fight it, having to work it. So he's on his way up towards the line. Zach Meakin on this lap will lose the time because of track limit offences, but he's okay to keep his earlier best. Callum Davis down in the middle sector, maybe not a massive surprise given how much energy has to be put into control the car, and another big slide coming out of Blanchimont. It's great to watch, but it's not helping. No,
it won't be helping the heart rate of the team managers either, looking at this, and every time you slide it generates even more temperature, which makes you slide more, which makes you generate more temperature. So it's hard to get out of that cycle, and as a driver it just feels like you start to overdrive and you give it everything, but stays 4th. Wasn't an improvement that last lap, 3/10 off.
Interesting though, isn't it, that McLaren with the BOP for Spa back at the races, they've had a tough season. I suppose if you win a championship, then maybe it's inevitable that you'll be under the spotlight, but the cars really don't seem to have been able to match the pace of others in earlier rounds. Here, welcome back.
Yeah, I mean, Cresswell 1.3 seconds quicker than the car behind him, so they're flying in formation. The first McLaren there is on pole of Cresswell, then it's Meakin drafting in at the last moment, and here is that number 54 Lotus Nasaka, fastest in class, boxing this lap, but they'll be very happy with that, right in the mix of the silvers. They're 7th overall, and their next Pro-Am contender down in 13th place, the 90 Toyota of Hoymeland, is a long way back, so great result for the Lotus.
Yeah, Hans Hoymeland, as you say, second in class, 13th overall. Max Kronberg, the best of the AMs, so getting himself to the top of the class. Everybody coming to take the flag either on the track, such as Ajit Kumar has done, or in the pit lane. Ajit Kumar here turning through La Source. And you could argue that it's worth taking the flag on the track because you get one more lap of knowledge, because you can do an in-lap, and if you're new to Spa, it's useful.
Yeah, all good info. The only question with some of the teams were to fuel this for a normal session. Obviously, the two red flags add an in and an out lap that isn't always on the engineer's calculation. So sometimes you see the cars having to stop early because they simply don't have the fuel left.
Michael Haverans in number 1 Mustang, having taken the flag, got that car 12th, so it's in the mix. Marcus Signoretti in the Academy Motorsport Mustang 8th in the times. So Ajit Kumar through Lecombe, Michael Haverans behind him. They will make the run down to Bruxelles. But a good session for number 78 with pole in both races. So Josh Rattigan and Mackenzie Cresswell have a pole position each. Mackenzie's first GT4 pole, and it's a 2:41.5 ahead in the times of Zach Meakin, who gets a 20-place grid drop for using a new chassis. Gabriele Piana third in the times, ahead of Callum Davis and then Paul Petit, with Pedro Ibrahim 5th and Alberto Nasca 6th, and fastest in Pro-Am. Max Kronberg 17th in the times and fastest in the AM element, whereas the car of Robert Consigny, having briefly been the fastest, ended up only 15th. Quite a few big names a bit further down the order, like Luke Ivaniev, who ends up 23rd, with Alex Papadopoulos doing the time for that session. Newcomer Pierre Livingston 29th in the sister NM Racing entry, and 32nd was the man that caused the interruption, Mathieu Nomblot, by being in the gravel. And Philippe Talamy may have got the car going, but he never got a lap time, so still problems for the number 44 Audi that hopefully can be sorted out before we go racing this evening.
Yeah, congratulations must go to Elite as well. That's 4 pole positions in a row at Spa. That's not my knowledge, that is Rob Ladbrook, the PR for the series, but shows you the dominance that you're talking about McLaren at Spa, and maybe this is a turning point of their season.
Indeed so. So getting a double pole last year and backing it up this year. McLaren's not only in GT4 today, but GT3 last night, going really well around here. You can see there a green flag being waved to release the next batch of cars on track here at a very busy Spa-Francorchamps circuit. So for Q2, green flag released the cars, still onto a wet but ever drying circuit, with the likes of Max Kronberg aiming for and succeeding in gaining a pole position in the AM class in the W&S Motorsports Porsche. Alberto Nasca was rapid in the Lotus that Stefano D'Aste had been spectacular with earlier on. Gabriele Piana getting himself up to the top of the times early on. Pedro Ibrahim trying also to get there in the sister number 11 BMW. There's still quite a bit of spray in the air as Paul Petit battled his way through traffic, looking all the while to try and put the Team Minerva Audi onto another pole position. 812 though, in the hands of Callum Davis, was 4th in the times, and that's 3rd, given that there's a grid drop for a car ahead. We had a red flag after this befell Mathieu Nomblot spinning off into the gravel. Gabriele Piana's BMW 3rd fastest. That will be 2nd on the grid because Zach Meakin, using a new chassis and drafted into the number 81 entry, the car has a 20-place grid drop for each race, and therefore pole position, his first in the GT4 European Series, to Elite Motorsports. Mackenzie Cresswell in number 78 McLaren.